You think spies live glamorous lives. Fast cars, expensive suits. Women who smile at danger. Cocktails in Monaco. You're wrong. And by the time this is over, you'll never think about intelligence the same way again. Level 1. The applicant. You don't apply to MI6, MI6 finds you. It starts with a letter. No logo. No return address. Just a time, a location, and 3 words. Come alone. Prepared, you've been watching. For months, probably. You didn't know it, but someone in a gray office, 3 floors underground, pulled your file, your university grades, your psychology evaluations, your language scores, the paper you wrote on geopolitical fragmentation in your second year that your professor said was unusually perceptive for someone your age. They noticed, so you show up. A building that looks like an accounting firm, a receptionist who doesn't smile, a badge that says nothing except a number, and then you sit across from a man in a brown jacket, no tie, no rank, no introduction, and he asks you one question: tell me about the last time you lied to someone you loved and whether it worked. You pause. Because the honest answer is yes, and it did work, and part of you is proud of that. He writes something down and tells you to wait outside. You sit in that corridor for 45 minutes. No phone, no water, no explanation. That's the first test. They want to see how you handle silence. Most people can't. You can. You're called back in. There are now 3 people in the room. No one explains who they are. They ask you about your family, your relationships, whether you've ever stolen anything, whether you believe in God, whether you could keep a secret from your mother for the rest of your life. You answer every question, calmly, honestly, because here's what they already know. Lying to these people is the fastest way to fail. 2 weeks later, a call. A voice you don't recognize. Provisional offer, don't tell anyone. You don't. And that's the moment it begins. The slow, quiet unraveling of the person you used to be. Level 2. The trainee. They send you to a location you're not allowed to name. Even now. It looks like a manor house somewhere in England. Old stone. Green fields. No signs. No neighbors within sight. This is where they remake you. The first week is sleep deprivation, not because intelligence work requires it, but because they need to see who you are when the performance drops, when you're exhausted and hungry, and a man is standing in front of you, asking the same question for the 17th time. Who do you work for? You say nothing. They respect that. Then comes the classroom. Surveillance theory, counter-surveillance, cryptography, signals intelligence, human intelligence, humant, they call it. How to read a room, how to read a person, how to become someone else entirely inside 30 seconds. Your instructor is a woman with gray eyes and a way of speaking that makes everything sound inevitable. She tells you that the most dangerous thing an intelligence officer can have is a conscience that moves too fast. You don't understand what that means yet. You will. Then comes the part no one warns you about. They break your identity. Not violently. Surgically. They give you a cover story. A fake name, a fake history, fake parents, a fake hometown, and they make you live in it. Every conversation, every meal, every interaction with the other trainees. All of it is in character. For 3 weeks, you are not you. And here's the thing that nobody tells you. 3 weeks in, you stop missing the old name. That should scare you. It doesn't. That's what scares you. The final training exercise is a live scenario, real city. Real people who don't know it's a test. You're given a target, a man who knows something. And you have 72 hours to get close enough to learn it. No violence, no gadgets, just psychology. You do it in 41 hours. They don't congratulate you. They just move you to the next level. Level 3, the junior field officer. Your first posting is not what you imagined. No Moscow, no Zurich, no Beirut. You're sitting in a small, poorly lit apartment in a mid-sized European city, watching a man eat dinner through a long-lens camera, writing reports that go into a system you'll never have access to. Surveillance. For 6 months, this is your life. You learn patience the way monks learn silence. Not by wanting it, but by having no other choice. You follow people. You track patterns, you report anomalies. Sometimes you're told the operation was successful. More often, you hear nothing. That's intelligence work. You are one pixel in a photograph so large you'll never see the whole image. But then, your first real contact, a man approaches your handler. He wants to share information. He's scared. He has a family. He has a reason. And he's chosen you to be the face he trusts. This is called running an asset. And this is where everything changes. Because this man, call him Anton, starts feeding you real information, shipping routes, names, movement patterns that don't make sense on paper, but make perfect sense to someone 3 levels above you. You meet Anton every 2 weeks. Always different locations. Always in public, always with a reason to be there that isn't the reason you're there. You learn his habits. His wife's name, his son's football team, his fear of dogs, the way he checks over his left shoulder when he's nervous. You like him, that's the first mistake. Your handler tells you, flat and cold, over a phone call that lasts less than a minute, don't humanize assets. It compromises your judgment. You say you understand. You don't stop liking him. Level 4. The field officer. 2 years in, and they move you east. The city doesn't matter. What matters is that the stakes just got real. Your cover is airtight. You have a job, a real one, at a logistics company, that you actually do. You have an apartment, a local SIM card, a routine so consistent you could set a clock to it. And you have a target, not a person to watch, a network to penetrate. This is offensive intelligence. You're not gathering data anymore. You're shaping it. You're building relationships with people who would have you killed if they knew who you actually were. You eat with these people. You argue with them. You laugh at their jokes. You attend their celebrations and their funerals and their children's birthdays. And all the while, you are feeding everything back. Every conversation, every slip, every moment of carelessness that a man makes when he thinks he's among friends. The psychological weight of this is something no training prepares you for. Because here's the thing. You're good at this. Frighteningly good. And some nights, lying awake in that apartment, you wonder if the reason you're so good at deception is because you were always like this. Or because they made you like this. You're not ready for what comes next. One of your contacts goes silent. No call, no meeting, no signal. 3 days later, your handler contacts you with 2 words. He's gone. Gone as in extracted safely to a third country. Gone as in arrested. Or gone as in dead. You ask which one. The line goes quiet for 4 seconds. Does it matter to the mission? You say no. But you don't sleep that night. Level 5. The senior field officer, 5 years in. You've run 3 networks, closed 2 operations, survived 1 exposure scare that turned 11 days of your life into something you still can't fully talk about. Not because of classification, but because some things don't have words. You're different now. People notice, though they can't name what changed. You're quieter. Not cold, just very, very still. You watch exits when you walk into rooms. You sit with your back to walls. You read faces the way other men read newspapers. Your relationships outside the service have thinned. Not by design, just by gravity. Because you can't be fully present with anyone. There's always a part of you, locked away, operational, running background calculations, that never fully joins the dinner table. Your last serious relationship ended quietly. She said you were somewhere else even when you were here. She wasn't wrong. You got a commendation this year. Classified, of course. No ceremony. No pin on your chest. Just a line in a file that almost no one will ever read, describing something you did in a city that most people couldn't find on a map. And here's what that commendation felt like. Nothing. Not because you don't care, but because by this point, you've internalized the mission so completely that success and failure are just data. You process them. You move on. That's not strength. That's erosion, but you don't call it that yet. Level 6. The station chief. You run a station now. A team. A budget. A portfolio of operations. And the weight of other people's lives, both your officers in the field and the assets they're running, sitting on your shoulders every morning when you wake up. Leadership in intelligence is unlike any other kind. You can't inspire your team with speeches. You can't explain why decisions are made the way they are. Half the time, you're managing people who are smarter than you in their specific discipline, and you have to direct them without revealing everything you know. You make a call that burns one of your best assets. Not out of recklessness. Out of necessity, a larger operation required it. Someone above you made the decision, and you carried it out. The asset loses everything: his cover, his access, possibly his freedom. You won't know for months. You write the report. You attend the debrief. You answer every question, and then you go home. And this is the moment that breaks you. Not the drama of it. Not some cinematic collapse. Just sitting at a table in a quiet apartment, eating food you barely taste, realizing that you are capable of sacrificing a human being for a strategic objective, and feeling, after a moment of discomfort, functionally fine. That's not what breaks you. What breaks you is that you know it was the right call, and you'd make it again. Level 7. The operations director, back in London now. A different kind of power. You're not in the field anymore. You're in rooms. High rooms. Rooms with people who make decisions that appear in history books years after the fact, never with the right names attached. You brief ministers. You advise on policy. You see the full picture, not just your pixel, but the whole photograph, for the first time. And it's more disturbing than you expected. Because at the field level, you believed in the mission the way a soldier believes in the front line. Immediate, visceral, righteous. At this level, the mission is a chess game, and the pieces are people. You sit in a room where decisions are made about nations, about leaders, about what information gets released, what gets buried, and what gets used as leverage at exactly the right moment. You are part of the machine that quietly shapes the world, and nobody knows. Your mother still thinks you work in government procurement. Your old university friends think you're some kind of civil servant. Slightly boring. Reliably employed, nothing remarkable. You went to a school reunion last year. Sat across from men who were louder than you. More decorated in ways people could see, successful in ways they could describe at dinner. And you sat there, knowing exactly what you'd done for your country. Things that will never be acknowledged, never be rewarded publicly, never be understood by anyone in that room. You drank your drink. You smiled at the right moments. You left early, nobody noticed. Level 8. The Director of Intelligence, 43 years old. You are at the top. Not the very top. There are political layers above you. Ministers, committees, oversight bodies, the democratic architecture that theoretically governs what you do. But in the intelligence hierarchy, the actual operational one, you are the apex. You have access to everything, every operation, every asset, every secret your country keeps about the world and about itself. You know things that would alter the way ordinary people understand reality. And here is what you discover, sitting in that chair, with that access, with that weight. It doesn't feel like power. It feels like responsibility, so heavy it has become indistinguishable from dread, because power at this level isn't about what you can do. It's about what you must prevent. The things that keep you up at night are not past failures, they're future possibilities. Every morning, you read a threat assessment, and you live, briefly, inside the worst version of tomorrow. Then, you set it aside and make decisions. Day after day. Without celebration, without acknowledgement, without the ability to explain to a single person outside this building why you look the way you look. Your second in command, a woman who has spent 20 years in the field, tells you once, quietly, in the corridor, after a particularly brutal week, the ones who last at this level are the ones who made peace with invisible. You think about that for weeks. The final level. The end of the career. And then, one day, it's over. Not dramatic. Not a crisis. Not a scandal. Just a letter. A handshake. A small room with 3 people who thank you for your service. They don't say what service. They won't. Ever. You hand in your credentials. Your access is revoked within the hour. The apartment, the car, the secure phone, gone. And you walk out into a city that has no idea who you are. People flow around you on the pavement. Going to lunch. Arguing on calls. Living lives that are loud and visible and wonderfully uncomplicated. You stand there for a moment. And you realize something, over the course of your career, you have been, genuinely, fully, perhaps 17 different people. Different names, different histories, different personalities built for different operations. And now that it's over, you're not sure which one is you. The man who walked in as a 24-year-old with a letter and a quick mind, he's still in there, somewhere. But he's buried under decades of constructed selves, under decisions that can never be spoken, under the quiet weight of a life that happened almost entirely in the dark. You built no monuments. You left no visible legacy, the things you protected, the disasters that didn't happen, the wars that were quietly diffused, the threats that were dismantled before they ever became news. They exist only as absences, as things that didn't occur. How do you mourn the loss of something no one ever knew existed? How do you explain to someone at a dinner party that you are possibly one of the most consequential people of your generation, and that you can never, ever say why? You can't. So, you don't. You get a flat somewhere quiet, you keep strange hours, you read too much and speak too little. Old instincts die slowly. You still sit with your back to walls, you still notice exits. You still clock faces in restaurants without meaning to. Your neighbors think you're retired military. Or maybe a professor. Something quiet and unremarkable. One evening, your nephew, your sister's boy, maybe 12 years old, asks you what you used to do for work. You look at him. He's curious and bright and completely unaware that he's asking a question with no possible honest answer. And you smile, a real one, maybe the most real expression on your face in longer than you can count. And you say, "I kept people safe." He nods like that's a perfectly ordinary thing, and then he runs off to do something loud. You sit with that for a long time, because in the end, that's all it was. That's all it ever was. You kept people safe, in rooms they'll never see, in cities they'll never visit, with methods they'll never know, at a cost they'll never understand. And you'd do it again, every single level, every single sacrifice, every single version of yourself that you left behind. You'd do it again.